Just kidding.
Yeah. So we just started the recording. So those of you that missed the first part, all we said was, this is our favorite portion. We also talked about how important it was that we are working here. We're working in the Ruta Cafe to make sure that we're giving more to the Lamala Children's Center in Kenya, working with Dr. Halisa Alwine, and we're really excited about that. So your donations, when they come into us, not only are they helping women in our free conferences to be able to come to that, we also provide scholarships for ladies. We also then are now wanting to give more. $1 of every one of our memberships does go to the Lamala Children's Center. We just started that policy. So all of you who are currently members, just know that you're also supporting those children there as well. So it's exciting.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I'm going to go back. I think Tish is saying I'm out and I need to back in. Where are you, Tish? Oh, you're back as host. Okay, cool. So I think this just again, this is a crazy Parsha. This is a crazy. Oh, I have a shameless plug. I think you should grab one of your books, Rebecca. Would you grab your books? Take a minute, go get it. So I'm doing this shameless plug because this is the time of the year when a lot of you, if you are celebrating Hanukkah or maybe you're celebrating something else that you're doing gift giving, can you just take a minute and support us? Like all I have is this to show you right now. But if you go to, yes, you can go on Amazon and you can go on the rutacafe.com in our store and the link takes you to Amazon. And Rebecca's books, I'm telling you, if you know someone who's expecting, that's the best. That's the best book. Oh my gosh, that book is so amazing. And then mine's just a quick little children's book. My other book is not finished yet, but look at it's just a cute little children's book.
I love that.
This is the best book about the 10 words. I really am going to finish this creation book. Lord, make me do it. Rebecca, crack the whip. And then establishing his name. Beautiful little book. I love that book. In the morning, we have it as part of our morning. We just go over one of the names of the Father. We just love it so much. So yeah, so we're in the V's. I love the V Parshas. Back in the V Parshas, the Vayishlach, Genesis 32:2 and 36:43. Again, totally a TV novella, days of our lives. We have lust, we have murder, we have revenge.
And you know what I think that's so cool about that in a weird kind of way is the fact that God deals with those things.
Yeah.
Sometimes we tend to think that these were like, sometimes they're called like the heroes of the faith, their feet didn't touch the floor kind of a thing. And we have to emulate. And if we're really emulating, you got to be kind of careful because they were really, really regular people, really, really regular emotions, regular personalities, and interacting with each other, and sometimes not in the best way. And how God's sovereignty and it just kind of permeates everything, and he just kind of moves through all that, and he kind of works with what he has in front of him, So I think that's
good. And we're
really
not surprising him. He's not going,
no.
I did not know that they were going to go in there and annihilate them after that. Did you guys see that happening? I did not see that coming. What do we do? Now what are we going to do? This whole town is killed. What? No, he was not surprised. He's not surprised by you.
No.
You don't surprise him. You can't mess it up so bad. You don't have that much power.
We forget that he knows us better than we know ourselves. We forget that he created us exactly the way we are.
Yeah. I think in walking in your gifts, Rebecca, you have your gifts. He's given us certain gifts. You and I've shared this before too, is like, he knows, like when I'm praying and I'm off on my little ADD, like I start praying and I go off onto some, I'm like 20 years ago. Remember that one time when your friend, and I was like, how did I get that from dear Lord? Bless this day. Oh yeah. What day is it today? What do I have to do today? What's in my calendar? And then somehow I'm like 20 years ago when I went to Disneyland or something. I mean, I am done. And I was so upset about that one day. And I've shared this before, like, God, why do I do this? Would you just fix me? I want to stay. I want, like other people, I'm sure I have this vision that all of you, when you're praying, that you're on your knees and you have there's like celestial music playing and cloud, like fog raises up and you guys are like, oh, like I see it like the monk monastery, right?
Yeah.
That's how everybody else prays. And I'm like
sure of it. It doesn't happen with me, but I'm sure.
I feel like everybody else prays like that. And I'm not that person. And I was just, God, this is why, what? And he was like, I created you this way. Don't you think I know how you are? You and I talk all day. However, there are times some days when he says, I would like to stop getting text messages from you. and have a conversation.
Stop with the K's. Okay.
Oh, I can't believe you said
Yeah.
that. We were talking about that at breakfast this morning, how I'm not along. So writing this book, it's difficult for me to take all the words out of my head. It needs to be a video book. Now that would be
Yeah.
fine. But I'm trying to take everything out that I would, as if I were saying it, because otherwise I abbreviate. If you are expecting a really long response from me to a text message, I'm sorry. It's going to be K, LOL.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about emojis because I just have to do that. Hit enter. On Facebook, I see these people do these beautiful long answers to people, and I'm like, that was great.
So just know it's sincere. It's just short, but sincere.
Right here.
But isn't that great? You know, that he takes us just the way we are and he loves us. And sometimes I think about that and I think about how my son is going to be 21 tomorrow. And so like,
How'd that
but when I look
happen?
at him, he's still like 3 years old, 4 years old, saying those silly things that I absolutely just my heart melts. And he'll do something. And I actually had to come up to him recently and I said, listen, you said something yesterday and I started laughing. And he had a face like ouch, like he was kind of like offended. And I came back and I said, listen, I was laughing when you said that, but I want you to know I'm never laughing at you. I'm laughing because I find you so freaking adorable. And
Yes.
everything you do, I just love it. And you know, and it just you to me, you're just still my little boy, you know. So like when you do it, it's just cute. It's never with bad intentions. It's never me belittling you or something like that. And I had to recognize that because, you know, and so when I think about my son like that, I'm like, God does that with us.
Because who do you think you got that from?
Yeah.
Who do you think you got that characteristic from where you're like, oh, when you do something, you're like, oh, it's so cute. Even if it's a little crazy, you're like,
Yeah.
it's still cute. But then you're like, okay, let's talk about that.
But you know, like so that's amazing to be able to think about. And when I use the word amazing, I was just thinking about this day. I was driving this morning because somebody wrote something to me like, okay, awesome. You know, let's do blah, 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 blah. And I used to use that all the time. And when I wrote awesomely distinguished and I realized the background of it, like awesome is like God is awesome. He causes awe. And we use our words so, you know, so frivolously, so kind of like whatever. But it's amazing that he's able to take us and he's able to see us in such a specific, unique kind of way with such a love that we can't even imagine, you know?
No,
We
no.
can't even imagine it. So that's my takeaway today. If I'm gonna think about anything, that's my takeaway. God loves
Our
me
takeaway
a lot.
today is God loves you a lot and read the Torah. Bye bye.
Yeah. No, but
Pietra is reading for us this week. Again, if you go to therootedcafe.com in the portion tab, you can scroll down a little bit if you can do it on your phone or whatever, and you can it'll say listen, and you can listen to it right there. And this week, Pietra, so one of us, someone, and even maybe one of you, we don't, is reading it. Misty did such a fantastic job putting that together all last year. So you get to listen to each other reading the portion. And I loved it. I was sitting the other morning and I was just listening to Pietra speak the words over me, and it was beautiful.
mm, that's
Yeah,
nice.
it was so cool. I love it so much. And hi, Pietra. She's actually on here with us. Yay. I loved it. Thank you. Thank you for all that. I love all the things. I always can't wait to the next week to see who it is. So we start this Parsha in Genesis 32. You know what I don't like about my new Bible is I don't like that it doesn't have the Parshas set out for
Oh,
me.
yeah.
When I say I can't find anything, because usually I can just like, oh yeah, but it's not. It's really, really, I'm really uncomfortable, and I don't like this Bible, and I keep wanting to go get a different one, and I keep hearing, nope, yet stick with this one. But it's like I have to like do my own little break.
There you go.
And I wanted to borrow my husband's Bible, and he said, you can borrow it, but you're not allowed to write in it. Like, well, then never mind. So I need you to know. Don't you want my notes? Because they're pretty good. Yeah. So we go into this and we start right off the bat, and we see that Yaakov, that Jacob, he's going his way. And then the messenger of Elohim meets him. And then when Yaakov saw him, he said, this is the camp of Elohim. And he called the name of the place Mahanaim. Mahanaim.
The camps.
Mahanaim. I'm going to say it a couple of times. And Yaakov sent messengers before him to Esau, his brother, in the land of Seir and the field of Edom. Doesn't the word Seir mean fear?
Seir?
Seir. I think, because I feel like Mount Seir, because I feel like that's
I
when later when Yeshua says, you go to the mountain, you go to Mount Seir, but I want you, you're coming, you don't go to a mountain of fear. That's why they were walking around that mountain of fear. Why do I feel like that was like from a really long time ago? I did a study on that. Someone look that up. What does Seir mean? I do have my blue letter
rough and
Bible.
hairy. That's what I was gonna say. I thought Seir was like a synonym or something for Edom with the red and the hairy. Yeah.
The red and the hairy.
Yeah.
Well, see, there you go.
Rough and
Brother
hairy,
to the
but
land of
Edom,
Seir.
Edom means red or whatever. I mean, comes from red
Yeah.
and all that.
Is
Yeah.
is it let's go down here. I'm looking on, you guys, just so you know, I'm scrolling down here on Blue Letter Bible, and it's Seir. Yeah, it's actually kind of
Yeah.
a root too. Well, maybe
Yeah, it's like what Samber's saying. It's all kind of synonyms or nicknames or stuff that's related to Esau. With
perfect. So he's
yeah.
sending them out to that land. I don't know why that landed on me. Like, what? Is that a weird thing? Is that cool? Not really. Um, so he's hopping out. We see that's where he's coming from. They've left. He's done his time as an indentured servant. I'm sure there's a lot of big changes that have happened with him. A lot of big changes.
And I think that that's what's highlighted here when he wrestles with God. I was thinking about this morning, where it says you've wrestled with God and you've wrestled with man. And
Mhm.
it brought me back to Lech Lecha, when
Yes.
God tells Abraham, "Hey, I'm going to send you someplace. Just when you get there, I'll let you know," kind of a thing. And it was all about going in here. And I
Mhm.
think it was changing, not changing, but kind of maturing and recognizing God in the midst of who He is. We're talking about God knows us, and we're just he's not surprised by us or whatever, and we can be ourselves in front of Him and everything. But at the same time, we're expected to grow, and we're expected to grow in Him. And in doing that, our nature is supposed to change and kind of be more like Him. That's the whole purpose.
Yes.
It's never to shame us, saying like, "Oh my gosh, we're starting here, like on this rung, and you got to get up here." No, it's not about that. But there is this expectation, like, "Hey, you can't stay down here." And so I think that the Jacob wrestling with God is like saying, "You wrestled," because remember last week it talked about how when he deals deviously with his father and stuff, and his father says, "Oh, how'd you get the food, like how'd you get the hunt so fast?" He's like, "Oh, well, your God provided for me." It was always like this, your God did this. And now he's like, listen, he's making a covenant with him. That covenant is passing through, you know and God is saying, "You've wrestled, you've come to a place where now we're at an understanding, and we're making a commitment to each other. You can't hang out down here where you used to do things on your own and kind of weasel your way and do stuff. There's like a stop. There's a before and an after, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah. And he's going to meet Esau as a new man.
Yeah.
He's going to eat. And I don't know, there's two ways to look at it, right? We can look at that as he's going on here and he's still strategizing. I mean, he's not a dummy.
No,
He's a
he
strategist,
doesn't
which
he
is
doesn't
all of us
stop
have our
being who
gifts.
he is.
We just talked about that. Your
Yeah.
gift, my gifts of being so, I'll say my mom used to say I was scatterbrained, and I was like, I'm not going to receive that curse. It's what it is he's giving me a gift to do a lot of things at the same time. And I needed to be able to do that, to do the things that he's called me to do. Now I get that and I receive it, but I know that there's tools I use. Thank you, Lord, for matcha tea. There's tools I use that will calm and focus me. I have to make sure that for those of you who deal with ADD, you have to have your shoes on when you get up in the morning, put on some
Yes.
shoes.
It
It
makes
makes
such
a
a
huge
difference.
difference. Put on your bra and
Huge.
put on shoes.
Yeah. Such a
It's
huge
so
difference.
cray, but I'm telling you, it
And it
works.
sounds so simple, but I'm
And make
becoming
your
to
bed.
realize that simple is the way to go.
Simple
Fast is slow, as slow as fast.
Absolutely. Oh, wait, that's kingdom, right? My ways are not your ways. It's the first is last, last is first. Yeah.
Mhm.
So know that he has this gift that's been given to him, and he gets to wrestle with, am I going to use my powers for evil or for good? Right.
Mhm.
And I think that
Mhm.
even going into this meeting, we'll see later that with Esau, he's like, yeah, I'll meet you there. It's like, is it because he saw, I can't intertwine my family? I choose to believe he's like, I cannot intertwine my family with what's going on with this family. I can't do that. I mean, I do that. I have really great friends. I have really great family members that, as much as I love them and we're now reconciled, or whether we've never maybe even not been needed to be reconciled, either
Mhm.
way, we're in a good place, but I still don't want to take all my family there. And I don't want to, I don't want to spend a lot of energy in there because why? Because I don't want their idols to come in. I don't want those little things that you don't even recognize that are happening as I'm writing about the wheat and the tares. You don't even recognize it's happening until they get big enough. Then they all start looking the same. And then all of a sudden that tear, that thing that you just thought was not a big deal, just takes over, right? And all of a sudden now it's
Yeah.
a big deal and it's lording over everything with look at all. And that's what happened. He's coming. I choose to say that's when he's using that power for good. He's like, I need to use this, not a swindler, but I need to get my family to its calling. And God said, I'm never going to leave you. He said that back at the ladder, remember?
And I also think that you see a little bit of a redemptive quality in Esau, which I think sometimes we don't highlight enough because he's he wasn't the chosen one, or whatever you want to think, or because he says he wants to kill his brother, whatever you might think. But he ends up marrying one of Ishmael's daughters, and I think it was kind of like he's trying to backtrack from all the stuff that he did.
Yeah.
And then now he's making the choice to, okay, I'm gonna meet with my brother. Like there's this kind of redemptive quality where he's trying to make his way back.
That's still a counterfeit, though. Like Rebecca,
but that's what I'm saying. Like
compromise. Ishmael. I mean, of all the daughters, you're going to go to Ishmael. Like,
but see but the thing is that I think that it was because I think that's the closest he felt like he could get in his human kind of like, okay, let me try this. When he comes to meet his brother and Jacob's like, oh, that's great. But let me just keep my distance. It's because it's still like a human not putting God first kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You may be, people that are good and that are moral, you say, oh, that's a good person. They don't do anything to anybody, but they still don't have God as their center.
Yeah.
And if you don't have God in your center, at some point, please, if the people of God deviated so many times that God had to deal with them, and we see it all throughout scripture, it's hard enough with God that without God, it's so easy to deviate, that I think that Jacob was like, look, if I'm going to do this, I got to do this with blinders on and go this way. I can't get distracted because I'll get pulled back into, because you see it in Laban, you see it in Rebecca, and you see it in Jacob. That means that it was like a family thing. It might have been a cultural thing. It was a family thing. You can get pulled back into that because for whatever reason, it's always easier, it seems, for people to do the bad things when they get with other people than for the good things to kind of come out. You really have to make an effort.
I have to agree with you. And that even goes with my friends. Like I have friends, I keep friends for once you're my friend, I don't let you go. So it's I have a little bit of it's deep, right? So I have friends back from when I'm in, like I have probably my oldest friend is probably second or third grade, but most of my friends are close. We're still close. And one of my best friends, when I'm around her, she's not walking in Torah right now, but she's a believer. But when we're together, we're not really talking that much about the things of God. We might be talking about some things, like we read a book and she's, we're connecting on that level. But I start talking, we go back to almost like talking how we were in high school. We start using this little vernacular or slang. And I'm not saying like Valley Girl, but like probably close. But I can just tell my voice changes. My vernacular changes. I may even say some words that I may not say around other people. I'm just being fully honest because I know none of you with your halos on your head never do that. But some things happen and I realized it because I'm just spending time. And then if there's several of us get together, we go right back to that crazy, we go back to being funny, their thing. And then like, you open a bottle of wine and then it's like, oh, it's all, but it's not like we're out, going to crazy, but it's still in their company. We're not all talking about the things of the Lord. And I know the groups that I love going to, and that's what we sit around and talk about. When you leave, it's life-giving.
Absolutely. I had an experience a couple of months ago where somebody reached out to me from high school, and they were a very good friend in high school. But when she started to speak, it was like I was transported to high school, and probably not the best time of high school. And I was like, and immediately I was just like, ooh, like, no, there's no need to kind of go back there or whatever. And so it's like when you can tell the difference 100%. So with that in mind, looking at Jacob and Esau, you see kind of Esau trying to do it the human way without God, and trying to like kind of backtrack and be like, okay, I went too far this way, or let me, because let me just say something that I was listening to something this week and it was talking about Jacob and Esau and how Jacob tricked him twice. And I was like, he didn't trick him the first time. He was real
Mhm.
blunt with him. And he said,
Mhm.
hey, I'll trade you.
Right.
Esau was sound mind and everything. They were not on a deserted island where that lentil or whatever it was that he had was the only thing that was available. He could have gone to his mom and be like, Mom, I'm hungry. Can you just give me something to eat? Jacob's bothering me. He wants me to make this dumb deal where I give him my birthright. I'm not doing that. Can you get,
Yeah.
he could
I'm
have gone to
hungry.
anybody
Anybody, any of his
and he didn't.
wives, anybody. Yeah.
He chose, you
Yes.
know, was it the best choice for him? No, whatever, but he chose. So like everything that he does is him in his mind without taking God into consideration. And then you
Right.
see Jacob, who's really no better because Jacob does his own things that are not right or whatever. But there's this redeeming quality that he gets to here where he's like, okay, I can't continue this way. I'm
Yeah.
not going to get anywhere.
I'm not going to
I've
get
lost
anywhere.
my home, like my family, my mother,
Yeah.
I've
How's that
lost it.
working for
I
you?
gotta, exactly. Like I need to, and he makes a choice. And so here, God is, when he has this moment, it's like God saying, okay, you've wrestled with man, and now you've wrestled with God. You've come to this. And I think that wrestling with God is wrestling with yourself, with your emotions, choosing what you're going to do and what path you're going to take, and what you're going
Yeah.
to change about yourself to get where you need to go, what God has for you. Because each and every one of us, God has something that
Oh,
is so
yeah.
perfect and special for each one of us. But we have to be willing to walk it out. We were talking about this last night, and I was saying, I just kind of have to make a choice of
Yeah.
which way I'm going to go,
Should I
and then
stay or
just
should I go
walk.
now? Yeah.
Yeah, and just walk it out.
Yeah. And we all have to wrestle. We all have to get to that place where we're going to wrestle. And I think it happens more than once for most of us.
Oh, yeah, because I think
And you're
you
wrestling
grow.
your flesh, you're wrestling your past,
Yes.
you're wrestling your identity. And I feel like, because that's where I always stick with this story where he's wrestling in here. I see where it's a wrestling of his identity, because there's a lot of us, we have our identity stuck in something. And I'm going to hit really hard and home with some of you. Some of us wrestle with our identity because we have our identity so wrapped up in our children
If
that
I sign off,
when they move on, we have a full identity crisis because we haven't been walking in all that because he has called you to be an amazing mother, but have become little gods, and
hmm
your identity, and you've done things just for everything was for your kids, for some of you that are, if you're married, to the extent that your husband has been put on a back burner, that relationship is on the back burner. And then there comes a point when you have to wrestle with that identity.
yes,
And it's sometimes not pretty, and sometimes you come out limping.
yes,
And I think that the limp is a reminder. It's like Paul's thorn.
yes,
It's like
yes.
John and Elijah's camel hair.
hmm It's
I mean,
those
they wore the
scars.
camel hair on the wrong side so it would itch them, so that would, it was a thing.
It's those
When John was
scars.
wearing his Elijah costume, he was like, ow, itchy, just to remind
Yeah.
you got to limp sometimes. Yeah. And I think in the limp, in the limp, there's a for all of us who are limp. I mean, I'm not limping through. I can do all things through him because I do have a limp. But what happens is that people can look at me and go, "Oh, if she could do it, I could do it. She could do it
Mhm.
with that limp, then I could do it."
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, I'll tell you something. Having darker skin, my skin scars,
Okay.
not pretty. And so I used to get devastated when I would get a scar running outside or something because I would have a mark and I would look at it and I'd be like, if it wasn't there. And I remember I got burned a year ago and it was a huge burn here on my, and I was like, I was devastated.
Oh
And
no.
for me, it was like, so, oh, and then I have slowly come to realize that those scars are just like a part of me and they tell a story. And it doesn't have to be this terrible thing. And that you can keep walking, you can keep doing. For me, it was horrible. Like if I would get a scar on my leg or I would get mosquito bites and they would leave like scars, and I would be like,
Oh
oh my God.
no.
And I'm so apparently so sweet that every mosquito within 100 miles comes to attack me when in the summer. And it would devastate me personally. I don't, this is a little thing. So little quirks that we all have or whatever.
Yeah.
And I came to realize that they tell a story. They tell a story of where I've been. They tell a story of what's happened to me, of what I've gone through. And it it's a reminder of where I've been and where I've come from. And this limp is that, reminder of where he was. He's never going to forget the moment that he chose God instead of his own ego and his own
Absolutely.
pride, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I look, the word Jabbok, it says it's probably from the root is actually Baka, which is Hebrews 1, 2, 3, 8. If you guys look that up in the Blue Letter, you look in Blue Letter Bible or in your Strong's H 1, 2, 3, 8. But when you're looking at the Hebrew, if the Gesenius, this Hebrew lexicon on here, it says what that word means is to pour out, to empty.
Yeah.
That's
If
I
that is not a
instantly
picture.
when I read that pic, that's what happened here. It's where
Mhm.
he was like, no, I'm not, I'm gonna give you, I'm not. And you know who I saw when I read that? I saw the woman who came to Yeshua and poured out from her alabaster box.
Mm. You have like nothing to lose.
I have
That's
nothing to
it.
lose. You don't know what this cost me. You don't know. I have nothing to lose. Laugh at me, do whatever, talk about me. I've done, whatever, but I have nothing to lose. And I think that's when that's where we have to get. We have to get to our Jabbok,
Hmm.
where we have nothing to lose. Doesn't
And
matter what people say.
it's funny because that word that's used for wrestle, it means to like literally to get in the dirt and to kind of tussle
Yes.
in the dirt.
Yeah.
Like you got to get
He
down
had
and
to go
dirty.
back.
You
He had
got
to
to
go
get,
back to where he came from. He had to go
yeah.
back to the dust. He had to go back to where he came
Hmm.
out of.
And it's like and you get there. And it's so interesting that the guy's like, okay, I'm done. I gotta go. Day is breaking. I gotta go. I'm tagging
Yeah.
out. And he's
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not letting you go until you bless me. Like, I'm not letting you go until I get to where I need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Until I know that this is the way I'm like, until it's like solidified, this is what's happening and this is where I'm going, and that that you're gonna be with me. I'm not letting you go. And
Girl, we are a bunch of quitters. Do we
tenacity.
have that tenacity to hold
No.
on and say, God, I'm not letting go until you bless me, until you change my name, until you let me see who you've called me to be. I'm going to fast. I'm going to pray. I'm going to wrestle. But most of us are like, we can't even hardly fast a day. We're like, do I really, is Yom Kippur really a fast day? Or is that like,
Is it a
a
spiritual thing?
tradition? Or is that a thing? And it's like, you've missed the point.
Yes. Yeah,
We're
totally.
supposed to be wrestling every year during the feast. One of the things about that as we come to those high holy days is a time for us to wrestle. It's a time for us to wrestle, get rid of those things that are holding us back. Old things are passed away. All things need to become new. How do I come through? He is no longer Yaakov, but now he's going to walk as Israel. He was proclaimed a nation to this day, was proclaimed over them at that place where he emptied out. You guys know, I believe with all my heart, when you do this, when you do things, and I talk to our instructors all the time, you're not just changing one woman's life, generations change.
Amen.
Ladies, when you wrestle, generations change.
Amen. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Absolutely.
love the if you go back and watch, for those of you who do have a Ruta Cafe membership, Gail Heaton does an amazing job talking about this. And she's also on Hebrew Nation Radio, not Hebrew Nation Radio,
Messianic
Messianic
list.
Lamb. You can listen to her on Tuesdays. She does a talk about the ancient Near East on this parsha. But if you go in and read, you can also go in and she has a great reading and working on the books for all those. But one of the things she's talking about is this is so full of diplomatic etiquette here, right? This is all full of diplomatic etiquette. We're going through stuff where he's there's just a lot. There's a lot that he's going through in this. He's how he gets to him, how he bows, how he does all these things. I was writing my notes, and here was that it's the birthright and the blessing are two different things. That when you were talking about he stole something from me, it was not that. They're two different things. The birthright was all the covenant promises.
Mm-hmm.
It was the covenant, and that's what Jacob wanted. And then the blessing was that he was going to be king in his own rights or whatever. So there's a difference between the birthright. Actually, he wanted the blessing, and it was all, he
And
got everything.
the thing is that if you look at what Isaac says to Jacob and what Isaac says to Esau, it's very similar.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very similar. The only thing that's different is when he says, "And those who bless you I will bless, and those who curse you I will curse." It's that promise that he made Abraham that's going to flow from Isaac to Jacob. Like he's the one who's going to carry out that promise.
Yes,
You know?
absolutely. And he comes and he meets him, and he's trying to set Esau up as almost like a king in his own right. to a sense.
Yes, because
He's
he ends up, yeah,
he's setting him up as a king because the way he bows to him, the process of him sending gifts, the things of him then coming
the
forward, the way he bows
respect.
7 times, it was putting him back into that place of respect. We
Hmm.
don't know his motives. We were not there. But what we do know is he's a different man. He's been changed and he's been blessed and he's wrestled. He's come to the place where he's emptied himself out and he's limping.
Yeah.
We know that.
And the thing is that with all of this that we're talking about, it depends on you to do it. Nobody's going to hold your hand. Nobody's going to force you to the wrestling field. God provides opportunities for you to kind of wrestle with yourself and kind of see those things. And sometimes I kind of look at my life and I think that it's like an onion,
I
because
like that.
sometimes I'm not ready to deal with certain things because they're too deep inside, but
Right.
I'm ready to peel off this. Okay, God, I'm ready to peel it. So every year in Yom Kippur, I'm like,
Well,
oh,
well, and then what happens is right after it's like it comes off in that layer and it's touchy, and
yes,
that's a limp, right? Because you're like, "Ugh."
yeah,
It's like if you've filed your nails just a little
just a
too
little too much.
short. Yeah, you can. You're like, ooh, I have to wait till I get that. It's like that skin showing, and like
Yeah.
the wind blows. You're like, yeah, I
But
need.
it's like with Jacob, it's like he's like, oh, you're God this, you're God this. He had to come to a place where he had to stand up and take the steps and say, okay, I'm coming. We have to take those steps
Yes.
to say, okay, I want to be better. I want to grow. I don't want to just use that old, saying of, well, this is the way I am. You have to love
Yeah.
me
Oh, ha
the
ha
way I
ha.
am,
This is how I am. No, don't. I
Oops,
don't want to be this
sorry,
person next year.
Exactly. It's like, but you are the one that has to come to the dirt patch to wrestle in the ground. You're
Oh,
the one that
get to
has
your
to
dirt
come,
patch.
you know?
Yes.
And it's in your hands to do it. It's in your
Yeah.
hands to do it.
Is the dirt patch the garden?
Could it be?
Could it be? Is he calling us back to the garden? I want you to
Hmm.
wrestle to get back to your original calling. What have you
Hmm.
what has canceled your calling? What have you compromised? What are the things that you need to get rid of and get close to me? So close that you may limp after, because I'm going to get rid of things that you've relied on, and I need you to limp so I'm your crutch.
And not be afraid of having those scars or those limps
Yes, I
and
love that
saying,
you
oh,
have
I
your
don't want
scars.
that. I don't,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to protect I don't want, be like, be willing to be like, I'll do whatever I have to do, even if I get a scar, even if I get a limp, I'm coming out the other side and I'm not letting you go until you do what you said you would do in my life, you know?
Yeah. That's really good. The one of the cool things that Gail had said in here was that one of the things, it's just a fun fact. So those of you who didn't listen to it, she said that um, the everyone bowed and except for one son didn't bow, and the only son that didn't bow was Benjamin because he wasn't born
Because it
yet.
wasn't, I was going to say, because he wasn't there.
Yeah, he wasn't there.
Mm,
So later on, we see Mordecai is the one who doesn't bow, and he is a Benjamite,
yeah. Hmm.
and Haman is an Edomite,
Hmm.
and he still doesn't bow to him. Just fun fact. I think it's kind of cool. Yeah.
I love it.
Tara I'm got distracted looking at a chat real quick. Tara says that Yeshua wrestled in the garden as well.
He had to walk there. He had to make the choice
He had to
to
go
walk
get to the
through.
dirt patch. Oh
Yeah.
wait, in a garden. Hmm. And
And he had,
pour it out. It had to pour out of him. His
yeah,
will, it was like, not my will, but yours be done.
like,
That's when you get to that bottom line of pouring yourself all the way out.
yeah.
You get past all the little then once you get to the bottom line of it, it's not my will. That's your identity. Your will, how I want to do it, that's your identity. And thank you for that, for Tara. He had to say, it's not my will, but yours.
I really wish I didn't have to do this, but if I
What?
have to, I'm
Yes.
submitting to it.
Yeah, absolutely. What else do I have? What do you have? Do you have anything else good?
I was kind of, let me just hold on.
I love that when he says, when he left there, he says, I call this place, and I'm not going to redo my everything. I talked on Wednesday a lot about the way that our mind works. And I'm not going to go into, I won't do that again, but we just really have so many vain imaginations. And I really talked about that as I wonder what the vain imaginations were going on with the women, with him. Like, what, I wonder what happened. I mean, I think that happens even with later with Dina. We see, I'm wondering, oh, they're going to think this and they're going to do this. I'm just wondering, what are the vain imaginations and what are some of the decisions that we make based on our vain imaginations that aren't even true? Like, I'm thinking, here we have Jacob setting all this stuff up to meet Esau, thinking he's going to kill him. Because remember, Rebecca said, I'll send for you when he's okay. And he never sent for him.
Yeah.
She never sent for him. So he's thinking probably when obviously he sees him coming with 400 men.
Yeah, it's not.
There's going to be some vain imaginations. I myself would have all kinds of battlefields of the mind going on.
Yeah,
I can imagine when the enemy comes in like
Strategizing.
a flood. Do I stand there and think, oh, thank you, Father, you're rising up a standard? No, I'm thinking, okay, now he's going to say this, and then I'm going to say this, and this is probably going to happen. So I probably should do this. Okay, I'm going to send them over here. You guys divide and do this because I'm sure, you know.
And we're talking about Jacob, who he was super intelligent and
very
super
yes.
smart, and he was super crafty. Like he was. So you're hitting him right where it hurts. You know what I mean?
You're like, you're going straight for his strategy, right in his strategy gift. And when he leaves, though, when he wrestles and he leaves and he says that he calls this place Peniel, the face of God, because he has seen the face of God. And I mean, isn't it beautiful? Like to think, what if when you wrestle someone, when you get back to that dirt patch and you are wrestling and you're wrestling until you see him, right? I mean, we see Moshe did that. I want to see you. I want to see you. I mean, he pushes in. And then finally he's like, all right, already get in the rock and I'm going to cover you. I'm going to do, and then he says he was glowing. His face is glowing because he was reflecting. We did this in Psalms 119 yesterday. We talked about this with David talking about how about his face glowing and about how we reflecting the Father. I wonder if the reason that when he met with Esau is because he had seen, he had met the face of God. When he says, you turn your face upon me, it isn't like, just like, oh, hey, Rebecca, it's not, it's turn, smile, but the way that, the rabbis talk about this is that it's deeper than that. It's actually when he's looking at you and that you are looking at him. And because of that, and you've passed, your flesh goes away. And now he, like your son, like Jesus, Yeshua said this over, if whatever you see me, it's because of him, you're reflecting him.
It becomes a mirror.
His face to shine upon you, meaning you're the mirror that everyone sees the amazingness of who he is, because they're seeing him in you, not just how selfish, oh, that your face would shine upon me, because you just want to just have him smile at you. But it's bigger than that.
Absolutely. And it's like this, it's face to face, breath to breath, cheek to cheek. It's like this. Yeah. And it's
uncomfortable.
I was going to say that's scary. That's scary. Eye contact is one of the most incredible things that you can have with a person, because it's literally like looking into someone's soul. You ever met somebody? I've met a couple of people where their stare or their gaze was so intense that you're like, they are completely digging into the deepest parts of me. Why?
Stop looking at me.
Yeah. And this is the ultimate expression of that. I mean, it was Jacob having to surrender that craftiness and that whatever,
everything,
and then go meet his brother and face identity. The music for what he had done, and try to kind of, go back there, because until he did that, he was not going to be able to walk forward in what God had for him.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, if you go back for all of our little students, I'm going to really encourage you to go in and look what Israel, what is this new name? Like, look at the letters, Yod, Shin, Resh, Lamed. Look at those letters up. Look at your hieroglyphic. Go in and do the work. Like, what is this idea? What's the hieroglyphic of Israel? What is the hieroglyphic? Because it matters today. It really matters today.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to give that to you again as homework. I put that out as homework on Wednesday, but I'm going to continue on for everyone else listening here. Look up the letters. What does each one of those letters mean? Again, I'll, look up Israel. It's Yod, Shin, Resh, Lamed. What does that look like? What is that? And then, if you look it up in the Blue Letter Bible, you're going to see there's two two words that'll say it's kind of, they think it's kind of a combination of two words. Yeah, look it up and see like what, if he's proclaiming this over him, why it has to mean something. We know that when he added
Absolutely.
the hey to Abraham and Abram and Sarai, they added a hey and he changed their names. We know that hey was making them reproducible, to bringing revelation, to bringing, I mean, we know that what the reason were and what the meaning was behind the hey, when they added the hey. So now we have another name change. What does it mean?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean, and why is this important, and why is it here? So I think it's good to know, spending time with that. And it's really good that you guys do that on your own.
Yeah.
These are things that you should, at this point, if you've been hanging out with us for a while, at this point, that you should be challenged and encouraged to start jumping in and being like, why is that? Why did they put that? Why did they put all the sons of Esau? Why are they putting his Canaanite wives and his son? Are they going to have some kind of plan? Are they going to come up later? Is that why they're brought up here, so that we can come back? I promise you, their names are not in there just like, oh, willy-nilly, let's put their names in
Never.
there. Ever.
Everything means
Everything
something.
that's in there and not in there. So what's missing and what is there and why is it there? And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, literally, you could spend your whole life just studying that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. What else do we have? We have a family drama happening here. We have a little bit of time to talk about that. Yeah. When your sister is violated by people and you're like ready to go out and take care of it, what happens? Are we there yet? Is that next week?
No, it's part of.
We're here, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you have Dina. Dina. Okay. Yeah.
And it's funny because Dina is the male form of Dan, which is one of the brothers, and it means to judge, you
Okay.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like you said, everything's there for a reason. What's there and what's not there. Her name is just by chance or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
you know. And seeing what happens, I find it so interesting that the brothers are the ones that kind of come to the forefront to kind of argue and kind of want to restore their sister's honor or kind of get payback for it. It's not Isaac. Isaac is upset about what happens, but also recognizes his position where they're at. And he's like, how can I redeem this the best way possible so that World War III doesn't break out?
You mean
And
Jacob, right? We're talking about
I'm
Jacob.
sorry, Jacob. Yeah. And I'm annihilated with my whole entire
Yeah.
family. But the brothers are the ones that come up from, front and like, what are we going to do about this? We can't just let this go, you know?
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that in some cultures, when a woman is found this way, because it doesn't say that he raped her. It really looks more like he just did something he wasn't supposed to, and she was, she went along with it.
Yeah. I'm looking at mine too. It says that and humbled her.
It looked,
And we remember this is a king. So let's talk about, again, this is going back to understanding ancient Near East. And we have a
yes,
few minutes to talk about this. Is a king of a land could take any woman he wanted.
exactly.
He could
And
take
I think
any woman he wanted. And that was one
Jacob
of the reasons
recognized
why
that.
Jacob wanted to, let's keep you in the tents, because that was the reason why Abraham said that Sarah said, this is why his father said, and he would have known that because, so he's like, all the women stay close because we know that the king, either the king or the king's son, that's why David saw Bathsheba and took her and had her husband killed. It, it would have been the normal
Because he
thing to
could.
have. It would have been
Because he
because
could.
he could
Hmm.
do that. It doesn't mean he should do that. So
Exactly.
within the rules of the ancient Near East, that was a normal thing, and he could do that. It was like the prerogative. It was his prerogative. But because of who he was in him, he shouldn't do it. So probably the son is like, ooh, I like, whatever. I like her. I'm going to take her now to be my wife. And it doesn't look like it was. And we got to go back to, I mean, it says he loved her.
Yeah. So I think it was just,
and spoke kindly upon her.
yeah, it wasn't
I think this was
wasn't
like a Romeo Juliet, right?
it sounds more to be like, I saw her, I liked her, I took her, okay.
Yeah,
Now,
it says he
and
laid with her and
and
defiled her in some translations. So
which
yeah,
but when you look at what that means, it just means that he had sexual relations with her without being married to her.
Yeah.
And the words that the brothers use is basically saying you made
You
her
raped
into a
her.
prostitute. No, you
Yeah.
made her into a prostitute, which is somebody who would lay with somebody that's not there. Like you've
Yeah.
defiled her. You've brought her down low.
Right.
You
Right.
taken away her honor, and you think you're just going to get away with it?
Yeah. Right. And normally all there would need to happen would be a bride price would have to be paid. It would have to
Exactly.
be, and that was because that was not because, oh, women are treated like cattle. Yes, in the non in the non in God's not in God's economy, yes, they are treated that way. We see countries still that they're treated that way. But in God's economy, it was actually to honor the woman. It was a way to honor her so that people didn't just use her, throw her away or whatever. They knew that if I get rid of her, I have to give back this money. It was insurance.
Even if you look back a couple of chapters back, when you look at with Sarah, is it if I don't want to mess up the name, but I think it's Melchizedek
Uh-huh.
or no Abimelech.
Abimelech.
Abimelech, that he gives her the
princess.
money, he gives her the amount of whatever. He's like, this
As
is
if
to
it's a bride price.
vindicate you.
Yeah.
He's like, this is to vindicate you so that everybody knows
I gave you
that
back.
yes, that and that you've been vindicated, that you haven't been dishonored. You know, this is to kind of restore.
Yeah.
So there's that concept there. But it's interesting to me that the brothers are the ones that are, and to me, this whole story sounds like youthful inexperience. You have the young prince who doesn't take the time to be mature and say, hey, let's do things
What's your
right.
customs? What are your customs? Because they're different, obviously.
And he could basically have any woman he wanted. So he could have very easily come into an agreement with Jacob and say, hey, I like your daughter. Let's unite.
Yeah.
And then you have the sons and the brothers who in their inexperience and everything are hot-headed and say, well, we're just going to take matters into our own hands. And the destruction that comes as a result of it.
Or you have the one other element of that. We have a girl who goes in to see the girls of the town.
Just like, you know,
like us.
Yes.
Like the times, I mean, she left her father's protection.
Yeah.
And made herself vulnerable.
Have ever done that? Yeah. I know. Can I raise my feet? You can't see them,
I was
but
like,
they're there.
I mean, I was that
Let's be
teenager,
real.
snuck out of the house. I mean, I went to Mexico with a fake ID. Should have been in human trafficked. Like, I mean, but for the grace of God.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
A lot of inexperience happening here, and
the result of just bad decisions, you know, and how many people paid with their lives because of it.
That's the thing you talk about our children. We can wrap this up with the super practical parenting advice here is that when I'm sitting, you know, talking to your children, one of the things, you know, you can say is there's choices that you made that have lifelong implications. They have lifelong consequences. Some of them are short little consequences, but some things that you do, this particular thing, people paid their life. There's lifelong consequences. We know to this day about Dina and her, and we know about the son. We know about we know about the brothers. We know about this because it's a life. It could be generational. Our choices are generational. Some of them might be little, but some of them might be big. And I think if our children somehow can grasp the weight of that, I have friends who, you know, their choices, now they're in a wheelchair the rest of their life because their choices the consequence was lifelong.
Yeah, I know the story of a local person here who, when they were young, did something dumb and I think got like arrested for it or got some kind of like a record. It was a juvenile thing, but now they've tried to get a position where they have to do a background check and this is their dream to do this and they've been denied. And they have no recourse. They've tried every avenue to kind of do it and it's just not possible because of the choice that they made. A careless, dumb something that they did when they were young, thought that was inconsequential, was no big deal, and has come back to rear its ugly head in the most painful way because now all of a sudden we're more mature. We want to make better choices. I want to make a career choice. I want to do this. And it's not possible because of something that I did in the past. And that's one of the things that I try to instill in Isaac. Because I'm like, I can't watch you 24/7. I don't even want to be honest. I don't have the
I don't have the bandwidth.
No, I don't. You know, but the choices that you make are gonna have repercussions, good or bad, you know, and if we could just understand that. I read a sign one time. I was in a store and it said, I pay attention to other people's mistakes because I don't have time to make them all my own. So I'll learn from yours because I don't have time to make them all my own.
That's good. So let's learn from Jacob's.
Yeah.
Let's learn from these brothers. Let's learn from Dinah's,
Dina.
Yaakov, Israel. Let's learn from the mistakes that they've made. These patriarchs. I mean, the father of Abraham, Isaac, and
Jake.
Jacob.
Yeah.
And it doesn't say and Israel.
Israel. Yeah. It
It
was the
still tells
person,
you
the
him
man.
in his human, in his,
Yes.
yeah. He's still listed. I mean, I think that's cool. There's hope for me. There's hope. There's hope, ladies. There's hope.
Yes.
Please go back. For those of you who didn't watch the Wise Woman Built Her House conference, this is a great weekend to catch up. The videos are available to you. You know, it's really fun. We had ladies. I'm going to show a picture really quick as we leave here, but I have a fun picture. I'll share my screen for. If I can get it to come up. It's handy. Yeah, it is. This was the funnest thing. We had ladies who invited people over. They invited people over. You guys see, there's our Erica, there's
Oh, that's
Rhonda.
great.
They invited their friends over to come and watch the videos together and had a fun little party with it. Isn't that fun? That is so much fun. I hope that
Yeah.
we do a lot more of that as we go. Does She Prays in March, that ladies do that. But even now, you can still do it if you're looking for. I'd love to invite women over to do something in my home, but I don't have content and I'm not a teacher. Then do something like that. Get that video series. And then I mean, gosh, you've got 8 weeks worth of content right there. Most of the videos,
Yes.
we have a couple of the keynotes that the videos are like 45 minutes to an hour. The rest of them are 30 minutes-ish, 40 at the latest. So they're quick and they're short. They're not super
Offer
long.
over coffee and
Over,
kind of just discuss it and see, well, what did I get from that? What did I,
yeah, you don't have to teach. You don't have to
takeaways
teach.
and
We bring that to you. It's such a great idea. You guys can do this. Erica says, oh, we had such a great time. I bet you did. I was really jealous, actually. So we encourage you to do that. We have women in the Rudo Cafe. We have women who, I mean, literally, they are paid as keynote speakers. They are authors. I mean, most of you know if I could sit here and spout the names of all of our instructors that are in our community, and it's not just a Facebook group. We actually have you have a library, you have live calls, you have live trainings, you get access to all the conferences. You literally have access to all the instructors in there.
the
They
coffee
have office
chats.
hours and
Yeah.
coffee chats that you can jump in and you can talk to them. All of that, like for most of those women, you would pay so much less just to if you took 1 hour a month and just sat and listened or watched one of the teachings, you would have paid more than that to go somewhere and leave an offering, or to your gas and your food and your whatever, let alone a conference that you could go sit at and watch the whole thing. So I'm saying all that to be shameless because I think many of you don't know the value, and I don't think I do my job is to understand the value. So we do have that 7-day free trial. That's just going to give you a sampling. It doesn't let you into our live community or live calls, but you can look at some of the courses in there and just check it out for 7 days. But just jump in, and the water's fine. We want to love on you more. We want to spend more time and get to know you, because one of the things we hear the most from you is that I'm alone. I feel alone. I feel like I don't have anyone to talk to. And we are praying that we help be the answer to that prayer. So you guys be blessed. For those of you who are on here with us on Zoom live, we are going into our after party, which means we all just hang out and talk and chat and go over, what we learned, or like how to make good challah. We never know what's going to happen. So anyways, you guys be blessed. And I look forward to, I cannot wait to see you guys next week.
Yes. Yes.